The UPMC sports medicine experts in Central PA are here to help keep you in the game and improve your quality of life, no matter your age or activity level. Visit upmc.com/Central PA SportsMed to learn more.
Welcome, everyone, to another edition of the Pennsylvania High School Football Report podcast. I am Brian Linder, and I'm here with Eric Epler, and everybody else in the office is off, Ep.
That's about right. Yeah,
They dipped on us for the new year.
that's all right. Give the young guys a break.
Megan's here. She toughed it out. Our producer, Megan, she toughed it out.
Megan's always there, always.
Yeah, Evan and Dan, they're off trying to figure out what draft pick the New England Patriots are going to get, and we got fantasy football playoffs too. By the way, I'm in 2 championship games.
Yeah. Some of us have fantasy football playoffs to worry about. Others of us ducked out quick.
My best team lost. The 2 I didn't think were going to get there got there. Probably going to get crushed this week.
I lost. Remember the phantom touchdown to Calvin Ridley that Trevor Lawrence was denied. Cost me. I lost my quarterfinal by 3 points. So that would have done it.
One of the teams I won on, I had Trevor Lawrence starting. He got me all of 9 points, and I somehow won.
Yeah, he was not good down the stretch for me.
Oh,
Neither was Tua. Tua wasn't that great either down the stretch.
He's facing some tough defenses, man.
He is. Yeah, he is.
Well, hey, listen, let's talk about some high school football, and because we could talk NFL, we could talk about Micah Parsons. Hadn't got a holding penalty on him since October. Come on now, Ep.
You can always talk about Micah Parsons.
He hadn't got a holding penalty on him since October. Come on, that's ridiculous.
Is that right?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah, that doesn't seem like that doesn't seem right. No.
Well, anyway. We got, look, it's football season year round at PennLive, so we can talk about that stuff, and we're going to have plenty of time in the off season to rehash what Micah does, because he's going to be in that defensive player of the year running. But this week, as we're speaking, a lot's happened because it does never end. Football season checked out, and then we went through signing day last week, and we talked about a lot of that. Now we've got into the All-Stars. Our mid-Penn All-Star team for PennLive's dropped. I do an all-PA thing that we work on, and it's like everybody. And right now, a big thing that you have your hand in is the Writers All-State team, where we cast ballots around the state, and we put those out. Those teams are coming out right now, and I guess, how's it looking, Ep? I mean, as far as Central PA, Alex Irby getting Player of the Year in 1A was expected, I think.
Yeah, repeat for Alex Irby. Yeah, I mean, we talk so much about Alex Irby during the season. Obviously, being Player of the Year is not a big surprise on what he did and what he accomplished. And it's interesting because you look at the records, the career records, but you look at his season totals this year, and they're really ridiculous. I mean, 61 touchdowns. I think he had 4 interceptions, and I think he went I think it was 8 or 9 games without a pick. There in that stretch, he had a couple early, and then he had one, I guess, in the last in the championship or the semifinal game. So but just his season was unbelievable in his career. So yeah, I don't think it was any surprise. I mean, I can tell you that the gap between him being Player of the Year and the next guy in line, who surprisingly was also a Steel High guy, was massive. I mean, very, very massive. It was probably 95% to 5%.
Who was it? Raul Caesar finished second?
No, actually, it was Jan Perry.
Jayon is one of those guys. We talked about it. I always said he's like an undercover dog. They got these guys who put up massive numbers. He put up big numbers, but he's always like a guy who just got it done.
Yeah. He's always around. He wound up, he's going to wind up being an athlete on the squad, and that's a perfect spot for him. I mean, you can put him in an offensive athlete, defensive athlete. It doesn't matter. The kid's going to make plays. He's been doing this since his freshman year, just like Alex. This was just a special time in Steel High history. Alex would be a four-peat as far as all state goes, which that's rare air. when you make four all-state teams, it's pretty exceptional. So congrats to him, congrats to the Rollers. And yeah, we keep pumping them out. I mean, this process, it's a long process, Brian. It starts a couple weeks ago. It takes about 2.5, 3 weeks of grinding through. And you figure, these teams are very difficult to make. I mean, you do the all PA team, try to pare down, weigh out your blue chippers to where guys obviously
All PA is actually easier because it's really just the top of the top. When I get these ballots from you and I look at them for all state, it's you going by classification and you're going a little bit deeper dive into each classification.
Yeah.
And you get some guys who are like, wow, that guy really did have a good year,
Yeah, and there's a lot, when you get stuck in your own neck of the woods too. I mean, you and I keep track of the state, but there's not many writers that have that opportunity just because they're barreled down in what they need to do, and they're covering 3-4 things in a day, and it's football's part of that. You and I are lucky enough, I think, to kind of centralize our focus on football, which is great. But if you consider, you've got basically essentially 100 schools in each classification, right about there. So you're looking at, let's be conservative and say 14 starters, because guys go both ways. The smaller school guys, most of those guys are going, both ways. So if you factor that out, it's 1,400 kids in each classification. Only about 8% of them are nominated, and less than half of that are going to get picked to the team. So these are hard teams to make. And it should be. It's an all-state team. So that's why the process, is sort of laborious. And we always have these pockets too. 2A is always brutally difficult because it's always stacked running back heavy, linebacker heavy. So those are tough decisions for the voters to make. And of course, quarterback's usually a difficult thing. But luckily, I think this year we've seen a separation between those top 3-4 guys and everyone else at the QB position. So, but yeah, it'll end this week, Thursday. Today will be 1, 2, and 3, and tomorrow we'll release 4, 5, and 6, and see where we go from there, and probably still talk about recruiting. But remember, Brian, when everything used to lean towards February 2nd?
Yes.
Now it all happens weeks ahead of that.
Yes. Yeah. I used to like when it first started, I liked the 2 signing days. And I still sort of do, but I think a lot of things are going to have to change. A lot of people were talking about moving signing days around with this NIL stuff and stuff like that. Maybe having them in the spring or something like that when everything's figured out and teams have their open. So I think we're still going to see a lot of change. And it's turned out now that December's the big signing day, obviously. And then you get into February. And I hate, I don't want to knock it. We got a lot of good kids that's still going to sign in February. And it's funny because I think some of those kids would have been going to better schools 6 years ago. But it's just the way things are shaped out. So,
and then March and April too, with the Division II guys and 3 guys. Obviously the guys after the FBS kids and FCS kids. So it never really lets up.
The UPMC sports medicine experts in Central PA are here to help keep you in the game and improve your quality of life, no matter your age or activity level. Visit upmc.com/Central PA SportsMed to learn more.
Before we move on real quick from this 1A, Darrell Caesar is a kid that when we talked about him for mid-Penn, look, Alex was declared, and I think Alex is probably going to have a decent shot or should have a decent shot to win the Gatorade Award, maybe even the Max Preps Award for statewide player of the year. He got our all PA. He got, 1A player of the year from the Writers. You set 3 all-time passing records in the state that has the quarterbacks to come out like Pennsylvania has. It opens eyes. But Rel Caesar's a guy that, we even discussed this. Wow, how do we get that guy as a player of the year? We ended up making him our defensive player of the year, which was a little unique because he did tie for the mid-Penn lead with 8 interceptions. But he had 108 catches for 2,000 yards. So, and he had an incredible season. He doesn't really have a lot of offers right now. 6'1", 6'2" kid. I know you were a big fan of him too.
Yeah, because, again, it's the same reason we talked about Perry. You talked about Caesar. I mean, he never left the field. People talk about, see him as a return man. part of that defensive thing was being a top return guy. I mean, every time he touched the ball, it could be a touchdown. And but yeah, you're right about it's hard to overlook the offensive yards because there's only been I don't know off the top of my head, but I'm gonna say four or five guys in Pennsylvania that ever went over 2,000 receiving yards in a season. So, considering all the damn good receivers that we've had through the years, I mean, that's mightily impressive. But I still think he was probably better defensively. And I know Dan and I talked about this a while. I know Dan and you talked about Caesar and his defensive prowess, and I think that might be his future. Once he gets connected up with a college here, which shouldn't be long. He showed that he can play both ways. He's such a versatile athlete, and I could see him going to a school where maybe they employ him in the slot. Also, maybe he's a cornerback, but they also put him in a slot from time to time. I mean, that's the kind of kid he is. So, such an impressive season all around.
We made an exception for him because we only on the Mid-Penn All-Star team. One of the things that grinds my gears when we have these coaches All-Star teams and stuff, and the kid gets All-Star at like 8 positions. We only give him one position, but we made an exception for him where we actually took him as an offensive player on the teams, but named him Defensive Player of the Year in a separate piece, just because we felt like, it was pretty clear statistically and what they accomplished to him and Alex were at the top of the list this year. So we wanted to give him a little extra love. One other guy on the 1A team I really like is a little Luke Stevanowski. You got him on here. He ran for a boatload of yards. He had a boatload of tackles out at Minersville. If we did like an all Ironman team, Epler, he would probably be on there. A couple of these guys from 1A obviously, would be on there. We should do that one year. We should do like an all Ironman team, guys who go both ways. But he was a fun one when I went through it and looked at it. We got him on the All PA team too. He's a heck of a player.
Yeah, that's one of these also too. When we always talk about looking out beyond your window, right? I mean, we're not far from Minersville, obviously, so we can get a look on him. But I'm sure nobody in Western PA, aside of reading his bio and seeing what the kid did, or maybe they caught a little bit of his huddle, or maybe caught some film on him. But you're right, he was an electric player and diminutive guy, and that's the beauty of this team. It's not all. A lot of these teams always feel like they're overshadowed. A cup, in the pockets of District 9, up in Du Bois area and things like that. But there's a lot of kids doing really cool things for their program, and it's not just the 6'6", 300 guy that's going to Penn State. I mean, these guys are all state caliber kids too. So, yeah, he was fun to watch.
2A locally, Drew Brandstetter makes it as a first-team quarterback. Garrett Garcia, who's got a good story, overcoming some injury,
Yep.
Player of the Year. And a guy, again, we talked about it, Dante Green getting Coach of the Year, I think is well-deserved. You could probably pick Jim Roth just about every year because that program runs like a machine. But, Dante Green, what he's done with Westinghouse the last 2 years, probably should have beat Southern Columbia this year, had every opportunity. But just being able to say that, it's pretty special for them. So a heck of an honor for him. I think he's well deserved there. Anything else about 2A stand out real quick to you?
Yeah, well, that was the thing. I mean, Dante Green and Jim Roth were neck and neck in the coach for the Coach of the Year honor. It actually came down to two more votes for Dante Green. I mean, that's how close it was. Garcia, you mentioned about the injury last year, coming back, and really, Garcia probably could have been named as a linebacker as well. But like I said, 2A was the most stacked as far as nominations. I think there were something like 95 nominations in 2A, which is a lot, which is a big number. But it's also, where you get to teams like Southern and Mount Carmel and a couple of these, 2A teams. Lime Mountain had a whale of a season this year. Had a couple guys on the 2A squad, and Max Johnson and Shandon Marr, the linebacker. So that was a heavy read, the ballot for 2A. But again, you're right. I think Southern Columbia just sort of dominated that team, and but Westinghouse had a perfect chance. I mean, 99-yard drive to win it for Southern Columbia is pretty impressive too. But yeah, Westinghouse, Dante Green did a fantastic job with that squad to get him back to the final. So he's deserving.
The Michael Richardson kid there, he made it from Westinghouse in defense line.
Yeah.
I love him. super athletic. I think he had like 16 sacks. That Chris Conte kid, I didn't see where he signed from Dunmore. He's a good ball player, man. I got to look back and see where he signed. I'm just looking at your list right now. What the writers decided on. I'll tell you a good one. Evan McCracken at Richland. To me, he's a good little running back, man. He's going to Army, and so is Trimba from Parkland, Trey Trimba. They got two good little running backs coming out of PA. I think both of who are really versatile and can run and can catch. I like both of those guys for Army, man.
We've had a pretty good run going to the academies.
Yeah,
Here in this class. I mean, we've probably have, I think there's at least 6 that I can think of, 5 or
good
6,
players. Good
and
players.
really good players. Yeah.
And I tell you what, Max Johnson too is a guy who we probably didn't get enough love on our mid-pen all-star team. But he's only a sophomore, so he'll be getting there. But just the way it kind of shook out there. But he's kind of a long, lanky kid, has like 14 sacks or so, 13 and a half, something like that. I like him a lot too. Looking at his film.
Yeah, their defense was really, really good. I mean, there were a couple other guys on the ballot, and again, not everyone can make it. Not everyone gets the votes, and it's a difficult task. But yeah, they had a tremendous year. Max Johnson's really a kid that's going to grow. If he gets a burst here, it's going to be dangerous, folks. He's already a hell of a player.
He could be I mean, he's 6'4", about 195. Now he could be a college prospect.
Absolutely, yeah. He's got serious potential to explode here, and he's already damn good.
3A real quick. Quentin Martin gets player of the year. Matt Humbert from Bell Vernon also coach of the year. I know we got some local guys on there. Marcus Quaker at quarterback first team. Ethan Knox, who's always a fun story, who broke Derrick Henry's rushing record last year. And he's on there. Jalen Andrews is the kid who I got on All PA, I think second team from Loyal Sock. I like him. I don't think he's got much in the way of college offers right now, but he's 6'3", 180, can run and put up big numbers the last 2 years.
Yeah, I'm not certain on Andrew's future either. But it was interesting too to see Riker Jones from YMS, a return guy, Caleb Brewer, of course, Penn State recruit, massive season for him. And yeah, I mean, Martin was we usually don't talk about total number of votes, but he was runaway for player of the year in 3A, and I think rightly so. I mean, you saw him. Obviously, everybody got a chance to see him at Cumberland Valley in the championship game. But such a legit athlete, such a stellar guy, and he's the kind of kid too. I'm not sure. I think you and I talked about this a little bit, Brian, about where he's going to line up. At the next level, and I don't know. Maybe he's kind of that hero back on the defensive side. I know he wants to run the ball. I know he wants,
We're
but
going to give him the first crack at running back, I think, and he might.
Yeah.
He's explosive enough. He might could do. That might work out for him, but he's versatile enough, and he's kind of built. He's just not really built like a lot of running backs. He's like 6'3",
yeah,
220 or 200. 200 probably right now, but he's built more like a linebacker.
I mean, he looks to me like an outside linebacker, but again, he's so athletic and he's so good, so speedy. Who knows? Maybe he lines up free safety. Maybe he's a running back. I don't know, but Penn State's getting a tremendous athlete. That's for sure.
Fun one on there is Zimmerman kid from Northwestern Lehigh makes it as a defensive back. 5'7", 140. He had like 10 interceptions. I watched the film. We got him on All PA. I mean, he's out there making plays. Little fella, man.
Yeah, he's legit. I mean, such a great season for those guys. I mean, I know it was shell shocking there at Cumberland Valley for him. Bell Vernon put it on it pretty good, but such a tremendous season for Northwestern Lehigh. But yeah, you're right. I mean, it's always interesting because I'm when I'm putting in the heights and weights for the guys and the guys who made it, and I'm typing in and adjusting, and then I come to that in 5'8", 145. I'm thinking, wow. But yeah, it doesn't take much. You see a little film on this guy. Okay, you get it.
Yeah, because look, when you're going through stats and you see these guys, like, okay, let me go look. Let me go make sure this is legit. Because, look, hey, there is something to size and speed and strength. And little fella got it done. So,
yep.
Look, Hunter Smith's another interesting guy at linebacker. He's another one of those he did everything for him. I think he even kicked extra points at Central Martinsburg. Like you mentioned, Caleb Brewer. Noah, I'm probably going to mispronounce his name. Noah Rosahak.
Yeah. I think that's right. I don't know.
His coach actually called me 2 years ago. We do player rankings. He's like, hey, I just want you to be aware of this guy and put him on the radar. And we did. He's a 6'6", 275-pound kid who I think was probably a better high school defensive lineman, but I think he's going to Syracuse to play offensive line.
Yeah, I believe so.
Jim Thorpe, I like him a lot too, man. This is a fun team, 3A. You got 3 more coming out tomorrow.
Yep. 4, 5,
You know what?
6.
We could talk about them a little bit next week.
Yeah.
We'll just tell everybody, go to Penn Live, check out your 1, 2, and 3A teams went up Thursday and Friday during the day. What times are they scheduled to go up on Penn Live up?
10 a.m., 4A will go up. At noon, 5A will go up. And 2 p.m., 6A will go up. And
you can also
Yep. Go ahead.
But you can also revisit our mid-Penn all-star teams. We had an offense and defense out there, and offensive and defensive players of the year. We did a first and second team and honorable mention. They all have bios. And then we did the all-PA last week or the week before too, which is again kind of like an all classifications team, looking at sort of like maybe the cream of the crop. And you can see what we had there. And if you think we got something wrong, hit me at Sports by B Linder and yell at me. But look, Ep, you and I have been busy because everybody else is on vacation. We've gone 20 minutes. We usually like to go 20, 30, 40 minutes on these podcasts, but I think we got a good podcast. Tell people how to find you on Twitter.
It's just at 3Jacker. Spell it out. THREE Jacker. On X or, Twitter, X, whatever they're calling it these days. And obviously you can check out everything on PennLive too. Like Brian said, all our signing day stuff is still there too on the river. Check out the high school football page. We'll have all the all-state stuff up, all the all-PA teams. And of course our PennLive All-Stars are there as well. Right in the middle of holiday basketball tournament season.
Yep.
It's all there.
As soon as we get off here, we gotta focus on some basketball, but it never ends. We'll like you said, we'll be rolling right back into probably next week or the week after, looking at being a month out from that second signing day.
Yep.
And
who's still out there?
And we got a lot of good players. And I tell you what, we got a lot of another thing we talk about coming back. We need to kind of check off in the next week or two is just looking at some local guys in the transfer portal, like Marquise Williams, who was at McDevitt, who's in the transfer portal from Minnesota.
Right.
Nick Minnie, people might remember him. He had a good career at Stony Brook. He's in the transfer portal. We got some good guys out there right now, locally, who are looking for new college football homes. It might be interesting to get one of them on here and talk to them about what this landscape's looking like right now with all this NIL stuff. And
the Wild Wild West, brother.
Well, it's a whole discussion because I'm sort of for it, but also, it's now yearly free agency. So,
yeah.
And it is hurting some of these high school kids and whatnot. So I don't know. We'll figure that out. But look, at Sports by B Linder on Twitter, X is how you can find me. Like Ep said, PennLive.com. We've had a ton of content, high school football, and we will have a ton of content. Go check it out, and we'll see you again here next week.
The UPMC sports medicine experts in Central PA are here to help keep you in the game and improve your quality of life, no matter your age or activity level. Visit upmc.com/Central PA SportsMed to learn more.